There are so many things to love about the DJI Mini 2 drone, and if you don't already own a drone, this is a really good one to consider. Now, there are plenty of review videos on YouTube already, and there's tutorial videos to show you how to work it, but I wanted to share with you 5 things that I personally love about this drone, and some of them are gonna surprise you. Also, there's one feature that I really wish I loved more. Just as I was finishing planning this video, DJI went and released the Mini 3 Pro. So does that change how I feel about the 2? No, it doesn't actually, because when you look at the prices of the Mini 3 Pro, it's twice as much as this drone. So if you're just starting out, this drone is a huge deal and it's so capable, and it's still worth considering. Now I'm gonna skip the obvious things to like it's a drone, it flies, it doesn't fall to the ground when you launch it. It returns to home base if it loses signal with the controller. That's pretty cool. It has a camera, but lots of drones have that. Now I'm gonna avoid things too that are inherent in its smallness, its cuteness, its lightness. Well, it is pretty cute. There are some features though about the Mini 2 that go way beyond it being just light and inexpensive. And so to really dig into those, we have to compare it to something, well, more expensive and bigger. So, where did I put that? This is the DJI Mavic Air 2, and it is obviously quite a bit bigger than the Mini 2, and it's also quite a lot more expensive. And it has a lot of features that the Mini 2 doesn't have, and yet there are some reasons to go with the Mini 2 instead. The first thing that I love about this little tiny drone is the camera. The quality is amazing for something this small. You've got 4K resolution, you can do full manual control if you need it, and you compare it to the Air 2 and you would think, well, this is gonna be a whole lot better, but it's not. This is a 4K camera as well. So while you get a lot more drone for your money, you don't get a whole lot more camera. Now this one might seem trivial, but if you are using your drone a lot, you're pulling it out of your case, putting it back in the case, and these propellers, they flop around quite a bit, and they're easy to snag on things like the inside of your case. Now, for the larger drones, the only thing I've been able to find to secure the propellers is these large strap-like contraptions, and they're really a pain to put on, and they take forever to put on and take off. With the small size of the Mini 2, you have some other options. Like for example, these propeller guards that just kind of pop over the top there. Takes me a couple of seconds and we're all locked down. Now the Mini 2 doesn't have any collision sensors. It's got ground sensors underneath for when it's getting close to the ground, but it doesn't have front or rear sensors, no side sensors. And yeah, those would be nice, but the fact that it doesn't means that DJI was able to rethink where they put things. To be specific, the USB-C slot and the SD card slot. On the Mavic Air 2, because it's got side sensors and rear sensors, they've made some compromises, at least I think they're compromises, about where they put these things. And what DJI has done is put the USB-C port on one side and the SD card slot on the other side. But the problem is, if you need to access your SD card on a regular basis, and for me that's after every flight, then you can't get at the sides of your drone once you've packed it up. So think about it. You fly it, you shoot, you pack it up, you put it away. When you get home, you have to unpack the whole thing again just to be able to access that SD card. And that's a pain. Compare that to the Mini 2, the slots are on the back. There's nothing blocking them. I've got everything stowed away nicely here. All I have to do is pull it out of the case and I can access my SD card very easily. Speaking of USB-C ports, did you know you can charge the battery in your Mini 2 directly just by plugging it in? Did you also know that you cannot do that with the USB-C port on the Air 2? The reason is it's a different voltage. This uses the standard USB-C voltage, and so it can charge. This requires a lot more voltage from its battery. And I learned that the hard way when I took the Air 2 to a trip to Alaska, and I brought 3 batteries with me, and I thought I was good to go. I had a USB-C charger, you know, trying to light my luggage. It was almost a disaster when I found out on the trip that I could not charge using the USB-C port. Another thing I love about the Mini 2 is that you don't need flat or stable terrain to launch it. You can literally launch it from your hand. All you have to do is turn it on and then move the joysticks in and down, and that starts the propellers moving. Then you can use the joystick to launch it, or you can just toss it up in the air. And likewise, landing is the same thing. You can literally pluck it out of the air with your hands and then either turn it off with that same joystick move or just flip it upside down. When it detects that it's upside down, it turns the propellers off. Now, the Mavic Air 2 can do this as well, but it's a much more powerful machine, and those propellers are downright scary. I don't want to get my hands anywhere near them. Also, the anti-collision technology is a lot more aggressive, and if you're trying to get it anywhere near your hands, it's really difficult. It doesn't want to go near you. And then trying to catch it and then do that turn-off maneuver with the joysticks at the same time, it's really difficult. Now here's a feature I thought I would have loved more. Built into the Mini 2 are pre-programmed flying sequences, so you can get some really cool shots. For example, you can set it to orbit an object on the ground. Or there's a rocket mode where it'll shoot straight up in the air and it'll keep the camera trained on that object as it goes up. That's really cool. But I find I don't use these very much. Now, the mode that I would use the most is a follow mode. In other words, if I could set the drone to fly alongside me while I was walking, running, riding a bike, that would be great. However, the Mini 2 doesn't have any collision sensors in it. So I guess DJI thought, we probably shouldn't allow that mode. And there is a hack where you can sort of do it, but it sort of works some of the time. So I'm unable to use a follow mode like that. Also, the tracking on these modes is kind of hit or miss. Sometimes it'll track what you want it to, sometimes it just stops. And so if you're trying to do something that's really a one-off event that you don't get a second chance for, you may not catch it because the tracking might just go, nope, not today. But the main reason I don't use these pre-programmed flight sequences very often is because they require planning. When I'm flying, I might see something and go, oh, that's cool, I should orbit that. And it would be nice if I could just point at something and go, orbit that. But no, I have to stop the camera, stop the drone. I mean, it can stay in the air, but I still have to stop it moving. And then I have to select the pre-programmed sequence and then record just that sequence. And it just ruins the flow of things. So if I need to orbit something in the air, I'll just do it manually. As I mentioned before, the Mini 2 does not have collision sensors. It only has ground sensors. And the Air 2 does have collision sensors. If this is your first time owning a drone, you're probably a little worried about crashing it. I was worried about that too. And you can see my experience with my first drone flight here in this video.